and welcome to the 2021 financial series hosted by the National Association of Multi-Ethnicity and Communications, NAMIC Detroit, and Comcast Black Employees Network, BEN. I'm Maria Holmes, the president of NAMIC Detroit. We are excited to have back with us Don Ferguson of 100 Black Men of Detroit. Don, thank you for being with us. We are excited to have Don back with us. He was with us last year on our journey for financial information. Let me share with you a little bit about NAMIC and then introduce our partner, the Black Employee Network of Comcast, to tell you a little bit about Ben, and they will introduce our special guest this evening. NAMIC Detroit embraces the mission of the national NAMIC organizations to educate, advocate, and empower for the multi-ethnic diversity in communications industry. We are one of 17 local chapters across the nation. We thank you for joining us today and encourage you to stay connected with us via our website, Facebook, and other social media. I want to also take a moment to acknowledge our NAMIC board and thank them for their hard work. They are listed on our program graphics and on our website. Together, NAMIC Detroit and Ben are excited to offer this workshop series that will help you make sense of your money. Our 2020 financial series program was enthusiastically received, and so with that great demand, we've continued the series in 2021. And this is our first program in the series this year. Our topic today is making budgets work. Tonight, you'll identify personal obstacles to budgeting and create and apply a structure to track and analyze your spending. You'll also learn about short, medium, and long-term goals and discuss the importance of debt reduction and building emergency savings. Ultimately, you'll learn to apply strategies to manage day-to-day spending. The other programs that we have scheduled for 2021 include debt management in May, but before that, we're going to have retirement in April, then debt management in May, and then considering home ownership in September, and then mortgages in November. So stay tuned for more details about those upcoming programs. We look forward to tonight's presentation. For those of you that were with us in 2020, you know that Don has a lot of wisdom and is willing to share it with us. And we look forward to that formal presentation from you, Don. So if you called in tonight or your contact information is not readily recognizable, please provide us your contact information, your full name, phone number, and your email address, either in the chat or email it to us at namicdetroit20@gmail.com, and that information will be in the chat. And now, Eris Livingston, the marketing co-lead from Comcast Black Employee Network, will share a little bit about the organization and introduce tonight's guest speaker. Eris?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Maria. I am Eris Livingston. I am the marketing co-lead for BEN, the Black Employee Network here at Comcast. I am also on the marketing committee for NAMIC, so a little bit of dual hat going on here. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. This is going to be a super exciting time. The Comcast Black Employee Network, if you don't know what it is, you need to be a part of it. It is a network that enhances, influences, and strengthens the relationships of Black employees with each other and with the wider Comcast community. We have the goal of fostering culture and inclusion within the workforce, and through professional development, career management, mentoring, and networking, BEN wants to engage, empower, and develop all employees while investing in the communities that we live and work in. One of our mottos is, you don't have to be to belong. So we actually encourage all employees to join the BEN network and to learn about Black culture and to learn about Black history, all of those things that the BEN employees go through. We encourage all of that. So with that being said, I am going to introduce our speaker for the night, which is Mr. Don Ferguson. Mr. Donald M. Ferguson recently joined the Michigan Attorney General's Cyber Safety Initiative team, and he retired as GMAC Director of Corporate Relations and Smart Edge. He was responsible for the corporation's development and implementations of GMAC's financial literacy program and coordinates relationship marketing activities with a number of national and local organizations. Mr. Ferguson earned his Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics from Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia, and completed the Manager's Education program at both Babson College and University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, as well as the Executive Education program at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business. He is a member of the 100 Black Men of America, 2018's National Mentor of the Year. He's also a member of the American Financial Services Association and the National Society of Pershing Rifles. In September 2019, Mr. Ferguson earned the 2019 Michigan Governor's Service Award, Mentor of the Year. He is also on the Money Smart Advisory Council of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago for the Detroit branch. Mr. Ferguson is also an Eagle Scout and a former U.S. Army Signal Corps officer. He has published several articles on financial education in Black Enterprise Magazine, the Washington Journal, the Network Journal, and until recently, he had a monthly column in the LA Focus magazine. He has been a guest speaker for the Presidential Scholars Program in Washington, D.C. since 2006, and was also a guest speaker at the Harvard University's Summer Leadership Program in Cambridge, Massachusetts between 2004 and 2009. Don Ferguson resides in Lake Orion, Michigan with his wife and his 2 children. Wow, what an interesting backstory. So much finance, so much in the financial world. So many things are going on. And so right now, I'm going to give it over to Mr. Don Ferguson. So take it away.
I could not believe you were talking about me. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. And thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Maria Holmes, you will love this. This afternoon, about 2:00, I got a call from Murray Drew. I think you met her at the award ceremony. Coming up starting Monday, I'll be joining the Michigan State Police. Can you believe it? They've invited me to come in and teach some classes for them. And to
Awesome, congratulations.
She just called, she said, hey, do you mind taking a drug test? I said, of course not. She goes, they want you. So I'm moving over.
Congratulations.
I like to stay busy, you know. It keeps my wife away from me. Side note. All right, let me start sharing my screen. We're going to talk about making budgets work. Okay, you should be able to see my screen. Yes. I love this class. I love this class. Here's why I love this class so much. This class allowed me to have some quality time with my 2 children, because when I called them and when I talked about certain things, they don't have time. But when I talk to them about their financials and their budgets, both my son, his wife, my daughter, and her husband, we all get on a group Zoom now. So Zoom is good. And we talk about the budgets. And we look at certain keys that will help us understand our money better. So in this workshop, we'll look at those obstacles. What is causing us not to budget? Why is it taking us so long to get ready? What's in our mind that tells us that we should not budget? Also, we're going to look at creating a format, a way to track and analyze your budget. Now, when you have those budgets, you got to have some short-term goals, some long-term goals, and somewhere in the middle, some mid-term goals. We need to set those goals. This is really important. The importance of debt reduction and emergency savings. You know, some of us may get a stimulus check, either today or down the road. What are you doing with that money? How much do you have that's saved? Okay, this is extra money right now. What are you doing with it? And then let's look at some strategies to manage your day-to-day savings, because a budget is not something you look at once a year. that you do it and finish it. A budget is something you sit down and look with your partner at least once a month. I know that my wife and I sit down once a month and go through it, but I go through my budget usually every week, most commonly every day. So we look at those strategies. Now, here's the benefits of budgeting. Remember I said I do mine every day? The daily budget gives you an understanding of your money. A daily budget gives you an understanding of your money. It helps you project and predict and pay your bills with ease. It also helps you pay down your debt. You see, if you got a sheet knowing how much you owe and to whom you owe, and we'll discuss the interest rates in a second, it'll help you pay that down. Now, we talked about long-term goals and short-term goals. What are your goals? And did you write them down? I've learned that if you don't write your goals down, they don't stick with you. When I want to do something for my son and my daughter, I make them write their goals down and put it on the mirror in the bathroom, because they would look at it every morning when they brush their teeth and decide this is what they wanted to do. The more you read it, the more you enforce it, the better it's going to help you. It also allows you to save for emergencies. You know, a long time ago, if you lost your job in about 10 days, you can get another job. That doesn't happen anymore, but I'll show you today, you got to have at least 3 or 6 months. When you organize your finances, when you know where all of your money is going, when you know your debts are paid, it's going to help you reduce the stress. Can you imagine saying to yourself, I forgot to pay the DTE bill. Now it's going to cost me $29 extra. But if you got a system to know what's being paid, it's going to help you, because that financial security, that security will give you all the freedom you need to understand your money and better enjoy your life. You're not worried about next week, what's coming up, and pay your bills ahead of time. So here's some of the things that the people that are successful, okay? Here's some things and activities for work that they use at home. This is some of the successful doings of budget-related activities. These are what they do. For example, why we don't budget? You're asking yourself, I don't have time to budget. I don't want to think about the future. You know, if I had said that 40 years ago, I couldn't have retired when I was 57 years old. But back then, even I said to myself, I need to start planning today. And I tell my kids, you're 32 years old. You got to plan for the future. It is too complicated. It is not too complicated. I want you to design a system that is for your benefit. Okay, I budget by using Quicken. Okay, I have an actual sheet that shows me what my bills are, what my payments are, when they due. Those due dates are very, very important, because I know when they become past due. Past due is different than delinquency. Past due in most cases is 7 days or 10 days. Delinquency is reported to the credit bureau in 30 days. So it's not that complicated. Does it take a lot of time? Absolutely not. You have to make it an enjoyable process. And what we do is we sit down and say, because I budgeted, this is how much money I've saved. Oh, and by the way, since I've saved this money, let's put this someplace. It doesn't take that much time. My income and spending is not consistent for me to budget. Guess what? Regardless of your income, regardless of how you spend, you look at what's coming in and what's going out. That is very consistent, okay? Some folks will say, you know what? It's been working so far. It's working, and I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I like it when I hear that. But when I hear that, I say, okay, go back and tell me how many times you were late on an account. If you were late 2 times on an account and the average bank will charge you $39, that's $78. Can you imagine what you can do with $78? My wife says this to me. She goes, honey, I don't have any self-control. And she does not. My wife does not like the budget. In a relationship, if there are 2 people and one enjoys it more than the other, then let the other person do it. I know when I call her in, I go, honey, come here. She'll come in with the dog. I said, look at this. And she'll say, uh-huh. That means that she doesn't understand it, but that's okay. At least she's looking at it. But while you may have the self-control, in that family, in that partnership, one of you should be able to do it. Is budgeting stressful? Not if you make it enjoyable to yourself. Again, I can sit here and play with my budget all the time. And my wife says, honey, we just did this last week or last month. Nothing's changed. Yes, something did change because the debt that I had, I don't have anymore. You aren't seeing that. And when you can track your credit card bills or your mortgage or anything else, it's better for you. I mean, I look at certain things. For example, I know that when I get my DTE bill, it comes by mail and also online. And the day I get that in the mail, I pay it. But I also know the Consumer's Edison bill is on its way. So I go right into my system and I pay that, okay? Oh, and by the way, I use a method to pay those. All of my bills, my Comcast bill, my DTE bill, my consumer education bill, consumer's energy bill are set up on a credit card. And you're asking yourself, well, if you got the money, why are you paying on the credit card? I pay on the credit card because that credit card can consolidate all of my bills. Plus, I make points by paying the money on the credit card. So I already got the money to pay it, but why not pay the $150 and the $250 and the $300 or total $700, pay on the credit card? Those bills are paid. And then on the 5th of the month, I get my credit card bill, then I paid everything. So I've earned the points, number one, and I paid the bills on time. That's another point too. I got to use the money from Con Ed for 30 more days because my Con Ed bill comes due on the 4th of the month. When I pay it on my credit card, I have 30 more days on my other credit card bill to pay for that, okay? So that budgeting piece is very important. It is not a hassle. So if you think you can't keep up with it, yes, you can. I guarantee you, once you start doing this, it's going to be so much fun, you're not going to want to stop. And when you start sharing with your spouse and your children, it's going to be a lot of fun. So here are those short-term goals. Let's say to yourself, here's what my plan is. In 3 years, I'm going to pay off my credit cards. In 3 years, I'm going to have an emergency savings account. In 3 years, I'm planning a vacation, buying some furniture or some home improvements. If you plan those things, your budget will help you reach there. Your long-term goals could be retirement like I did, paying off a mortgage, or creating a college savings fund. I have a long-term goal for my grandbaby already. I know I talked about it too much, but the day she was born, I set up an UGMA, United Gift to Minors like account, so that when she gets 18 years old, she'll have some money, okay? Start those goals today. Your midterm goals, 3 to 10 years, let's say you want to buy a car. Let's say you want to put a down payment on a house. Let's say you want to pay some other debt off. If you plan those, put those in your budget can direct you to fix those expenses and to pay it off. That is the best way to guide you through making the budget stress-free. So there's a budget rule, and it's called a 50-30 plan, okay? The most important or expensive part of your budget is your needs. Needs are things you have to have. Needs are things you cannot do without. Your needs should be no more than 20%. Your wants are things that you enjoy doing. You want to go out to dinner. You want to buy some extra clothing. You want to go to the movies. They should not exceed more than 30%. Now, your savings goals are 20%. Initially, they said 5%, okay? Then the federal government went to 10%. Now we're suggesting you save 20% of your income. And you're saying to yourself, you're crazy. How can I save 20% of my income? Pay yourself first. If you pay yourself first, you won't see that 20%. You will not see it. In fact, it's kind of funny because when the state police called or Mary Drew called today, she said, hey, Don, and guess what? They're going to give you a 401k. And I said to my wife, geez, I'm 68 years old. Why do I want a 401k? But then I said to myself, but guess what? While I don't want a 401k, they're going to match it. And if they match it by 20%, that is 20% interest. So yes, I'm going to take the 401k. they can take my whole salary that I get and put it right into the 401k and then match it. It'll go to somebody else in the future. But plan for yourself during that time. Saving and paying yourself first is really so important. And if you do it out of your paycheck, you'll never miss it. Okay? So I want us to start building the emergency fund. Okay? As I said earlier, it used to be you can get a new job in 10 days. Now it's 3 to 6 months. And with COVID going around, it's getting a little bit more difficult with the number of people that are unemployed. But you got to have an emergency savings account, not just in case you lose your job, but suppose something happens to the car, something happens to the house. You got to have a fund for those things. I know that my neighbor's tree fell in my backyard, destroyed my fence, part of my deck, the total bill. Even after the insurance covered it, it cost me $7,000 because I put some more things in. That was that deck you saw, Marie. So I still spent $7,000 more. But if I didn't have that emergency savings fund, I couldn't have done that because I didn't want to take it away. Always contribute to your retirement fund. Look at what Comcast is giving you. Look at what Comcast is matching. Contribute to that because one day, God willing, you'll be my age and you're going to retire. And when you do, you want to be able to enjoy yourself with the retirement fund that you put away. A lot of us are trying to buy houses, and that's fine. Do not touch that retirement fund for your house. Don't do it. Your retirement fund is down the road. Now, there's something else I'll tell you too. A lot of us want to make sure we take care of our children and grandchildren. Your children have to do some things for themselves. Give them all you can give them, but they have to do some things for themselves. A lot of the elderly population and working folks like us, they lose their income by giving it to their children. Stop doing that. And then the third step is pay down your debt. And I believe the only way you can pay down your debt is to have that budget and you can see exactly what you owe and to who you owe it. Because that's going to be the best process to pay down all that debt. Here's some things to look at. Let's look at the interest rate. Let's say the credit card rate is 15%. If the credit card rate is 15% and you have a charge balance of $50, your first month's interest is $50, okay? $50. Their balance is now $50. What they'll tell you is that, hey, you can just pay us $40. Don't do that, because if you pay them $40, then your new balance is $5,010. That's called graduated interest. Okay. Now, to make this a lot easier, the next time you get a credit card bill, flip it over. And this was based on the Credit Card Act of 2006. And I participated in that with the federal government. If you look at the back of the credit card, it says, this is how much you owe. This is your minimum payment. And if you pay this amount, this is how many years it will take you to pay it off. Okay? You never, ever, ever want to pay the minimum amount. Now, by the way, sometimes they trick you because if your minimum amount is, let's say, $20, and you pay that late, not only are you late on the $20, but they'll charge you $39. It's either $35 or $39, depending upon the card, pass through amount. So that's the importance of understanding your debt and paying that bill on time. Watch the graduated interest, because what will happen is that your credit card debt or your mortgage debt will increase that much more if you're not paying more than the interest amount. That's called amortization. Always amortize what you're paying because you want to pay more. And if I was talking to you about a mortgage, I would talk to you about amortizing your mortgage and paying the next month's principal. And what that often does is takes a 30-year mortgage down to 17 years. And if we talk about mortgages, which I think we have on the list, I'll tell you to never get a 30-year mortgage. 30-year mortgages will cost you a lot of money. If you take a 30-year mortgage and ride it out, you'll pay twice for the cost of your house. And I don't want us to do that. All right? So when you pay off that debt, if you pay off that debt option, look at the same credit card. What is your debt to net worth ratio? Your 15% charge card of 50%, your monthly income is $4,500. Let's say to yourself, you have student loan payments of $500, you got credit card debts of $200, and you got a car payment of $350. Your total debt is $1,050, okay? As compared to what your charge card debt is. So this is how you build wealth when you want to buy your home. Look at how to accomplish these goals. You'll need these to understand that. And by the way, to buy a house, your credit score has to be at least 620. And I'd recommend you have at least 20% down. If you don't have at least 20% down, your lender will charge you an additional fee, PMI, and the insurance will cost you extra money. So do all we can do to get it down. If your children are buying houses and they don't have the income, if you have enough, then you should give them that money. I don't say loan, because if you loan it, the lender may not accept that as a debt that they don't have to pay. But you know, for the young kids starting out, you want to get it down to below 80%, so they aren't paying the PMI. Some things to look at. These are debt strategies, how you can pay it off. There's two methods. The first method is called the avalanche method or the ladder method. And what you want to do on this one is pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first. So I've listed them. Debt A has got 26%, debt B has got 23.3, debt C's got 15, and debt D's got 5%. The reason you want to pay off the highest interest rate first is because that's where all the money is going up, okay? And the faster you can pay that down, then the less interest you're paying across the board, okay? I did this method for my son-in-law. I talked to him about his debt, and we sat down and went through all the strategies, and then we looked at the avalanche or the ladder method. Now, the second method is called a snowball method. And this is when you pay off the lowest balance first. In this case, the credit card is $3,000, the retail card is $800, the personal loan is $1,800, and the student loan is $2,100. You can mix the two if you want to, and there's no problem. In fact, that's what I did for Mark. So what I did, let's say the retail credit card at 22.3%. Let's say you're paying $100 a month on that credit card. So you pay $100 a month. After 8 months, you still owe money because the interest is on there at 25%, okay? It's still there. But if you have $800, why not pay off the entire $800? Then you can take that $800 or that $100 extra and start to put it down on the personal loan to get that paid off faster. You know, the student loan debt at $21,000, the interest rate is so low, I kind of leave it alone. So I'd work from $800 to $1,800 to $3,000, and then down to the $21,000 loan. Kind of mix the two, but your budget is going to show you how they work. Emergency savings, I'm telling you, these can spiral, okay? Some folks will use credit cards to pay off emergencies. And if you have to, understand, but when you do that, that automatically increases your debt. And now some folks, because they increased that debt, they put less income to that savings. I was talking to a group of students yesterday, and I said, now that you've done this, please tell me what happens if the car breaks down. And the first thing he said was, don't put money in savings. Try not to do that. I know it's tough, but make your savings account like a bill. Don't take it from your savings account, because that savings account is earning interest. It's making you money. As my good friend Albert Einstein always told me, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Let it grow. Your financial shock up to $2,000. Can you imagine what happens? Save 3 to 6 months of living expenses. You'll need that in case something happens. And it could be a lot of things that's happening, especially in light of COVID today. So prepare for that. Here's how you free up some funds. Shop around, okay? When you have recurring expenses, shop around. How much are you paying for auto insurance? I got a brother who's a veteran, and he's got Liberty Mutual. And I said, call him Bubba. I said, Bubba, why are you with Liberty Mutual? He says, I've been with them forever. I said, I understand. But if you're with them forever, how do you know you get a good break? I says, you're a veteran, use USAA. And he finally moved to USAA and saved so much money. He said, I just never thought about doing it. You got to shop around. How about your homeowner's insurance? Shop around. How about your mortgage rates? Do you have any idea what the mortgage rate is today for a person with great credit? If you're above 750, you can get 1.85%. If your mortgage rate is 4.5%, and you can go from 4.5 to 2, that's a great savings. That's a great savings. But some people get so comfortable, well, I'm paying the $1,000 a month, no big deal. That's not the advantage. Do a comparison and find out what it would cost you to refinance that, okay? If you're gonna buy some large purchases, gonna buy a car, gonna buy a house, TVs, computers, cell phones, shop around. Ask the questions. I got a brand new TV upstairs, brand new. Didn't buy it and didn't need it. But when I bought my furniture for my wife 2 months ago, I went to a place that said it was Gardner White. If you buy furniture, we'll give you a new TV set. And I said, you know what? I'll take the TV set. I just put it in the spare room, and I'm sure one day the kids will come take it. But look at those things. When you're buying computers, shop around. Look for prices. You got Best Buy, Microsoft. There's a lot of places to go. Your cell phone bills. Look at how much you're paying for cell phones. My daughter was paying $180 a month for cell phone bill. I said, Ashley, how are you paying that much? I said, you know, Mom and I are only paying $70 a month with Verizon. She goes, well, are you unlimited? I says, no, I'm 10 gigabytes, but I only use a half a gigabyte a month. I said, but why are you paying so much? So here's what I did. I took my son and my daughter, her husband, his wife, and we found the Verizon plan that was unlimited for 4 people at $35 a line. They went, we didn't know that. But that's when you look at your family and say, how can I help? So now they're paying $35 a month and it's unlimited. They're paying what I'm paying for unlimited with the 4 lines. And you can do that. Just that I said, you guys, here's the deal. One of you guys got to control the bill, and you got to promise each other that on the first day of the month, you're going to send in your $70. And DJ, you're going to pay it. And he's been pretty good about that kind of stuff. So look at those things. You'll find them very, very helpful. Okay. Talk to your neighbor. What is some of the ways you can increase the pain of paying or decrease the ease of it? Ask your neighbors what they're doing. Who's your trash delivery? Okay. How are you getting this? And sometimes it works out. I know that when we get the driveway cleared, when we get the grass cut, the driveway cleared, I use the guy who does my neighbor's grass. Okay, she's got a set price. When I go, we normally do. My wife does the grass. I'll admit. When we go out of town, we get the guy $25 because he's next door. I didn't have to go out and hire somebody else. Look at those things. What can you do with your neighbors to increase or decrease what you're paying? I asked the question the other day. I get my water bill. It's been $49 every month, and I couldn't understand why it's always $49. So I wrote a note and I said, hey guys, what are you paying? And what I discovered is that $49 is the minimum. Some people are paying more. So I felt okay, but I asked those questions. Share and ask those kinds of questions. I love this. Focus on the deal. Fellas, I know a lot of times you don't want to look at coupons. Please look at coupons. Every time I go to buy something, I will look at a coupon. I'll find a coupon for what I'm trying to buy, what I'm trying to eat, what I'm trying to shop for. We go to store and get coupons, and my wife keeps the coupons in her purse, and I keep the coupon in my car, and we look at that. We look at those coupons. My nephew bought a car the other day, and I said to him, here's the GM price for this car, but before you go buy the car, find out if there's any more coupons. He goes, what do you mean? I said, let's see if there's any more coupons. The GM card, by the way, will give you 1,000. First of all, if you use a GM card, you get points off and dollars off to your money. But in some cases, they give you extra $1,000, okay? So he had the employee price, he had $500 on his card, he had $1,000 off. And I said, by the way, I'm gonna give you my $1,000. He said, how are you going to do that? I said, let's call a GM card and put you on my card. So because I put him on my card, they gave him my $1,000. And once he bought the car, which would have been, I think it was Tuesday, he bought the car. No, Friday, I'm sorry. He bought the car on Tuesday. Once he bought the car, I took him off. So look at those coupons. We get all the coupons in the mail and we look at them and we go through. This is what we like. Check the clearance aisles, but be very careful. Some retailers are very, very smart. They put prices that are very high in the clearance aisle because your mindset has said, this is clearance. Check markdown prices. Now, my lovely wife is the queen of that. She'll go to, I think it's Kohl's or Nordstrom, and I think it's color coded by red, orange, and green. She'll find something that's high and she'll put it in the back of the closet until it goes to green. Okay, check that. Buy in bulk. Buying in bulk is a good thing. We have our Costco's and we have our Sam's Club. I buy some things in bulk, but some things I can't buy in bulk. In fact, just the other day we were looking at bread, and I said, "Honey, you know, it's funny because 2 large loaves of bread at Sam's Club is $1.89. You get 1 loaf at Kroger's for $1.59. Obviously, the better deal is at Sam's Club, but we don't eat it. We can't eat that much. In a couple of days, it goes bad. So buying in bulk is not always the best process unless you can give it away. What I do sometimes is my neighbor and I are real good friends. If I really want something, I'll buy it and I'll say, hey man, take this, you know, because it's just the 2 of them too. Look at that. So if there's something out there that's nice, get it. Check the expiration date. If you're finding deals, make sure there's no defects. Shop around, shop around. And that question number 4, with that bread, can you use it all? And do you need it? Coupons are a great process. So what I want us to do, and since we're not together, but think about it. You develop some groups among you, okay? Talk to some friends. And the question you have to ask yourself, and I hope you do this exercise, is that you find out what money tips have worked for you. Because if you share those money tips, you'll give somebody some great ideas. And number 2, you'll pick up some good ideas. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got children that are teenagers or young adults, this is a great exercise to get together and share your money saving tips. It gives you something to talk about, and it gives you a long-term process about what's going to happen with your money. So to make that budget work and to make it stick, say to yourself, this is to my advantage, okay? There's a reward and I feel good when I pay my bills now. It's automatic. My savings account, when you get paid at Comcast, take out that 20%, put it right into your account. Create a bucket, and I got a bucket on mine. This is for this, this is for this, this is for this. For us, a big bucket is going to be trips. I told you earlier I ride motorcycles. I've got a motorcycle bucket. And I know to say to my wife, hey, guess what? Here's where we're going. And here's where the money's coming from. Okay, remember those credit cards I told you about that I use? Most of the credit cards that I use are credit cards that give me free hotel nights. I don't think I paid for a hotel in the last 10 years because I get free nights, okay? Set some reminders for yourself. These reminders will make you understand what's due and when it's coming due. And if you have some questions, the folks at the bank or your credit union can be very helpful. They've gone through this, so they can help you with some of these things. So here's what we talked about. We talked about the 50-30-20 rule. We talked about how they can help you create a budget. We talked about how to influence your spending habits, okay? Understanding how these things can help you spend less and, more importantly, save more. We talked about emergency savings in case something happens, and also decreasing the debt. Because don't forget, as you decrease that debt, the extra money should go into savings. There are so many people let's say the mortgage payment is $1,000 a month at 4%, and they renegotiate the mortgage and go down to 2%, and then it's only $700 a month. So what they do is they say, wow, I got $200 and I spend it. No, that $200, when you reduce the debt, goes into your savings. All right. There's so many tips and strategies that we talked about. I like the one about talking with your kids. Find the one that works for you. When you find the one that works for you, it'll be a lot more, watch this word, funner, a lot more fun. Okay. Find the one that works for you. I'm going to stop sharing because I want to give you the chance to talk to me and ask me any questions. I hope you enjoy something like this.
Yeah, absolutely, Don. Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation, as always. And you have some really, really good tips. There are a couple things I wanted to share, and I know we have a number of questions, and Tamika is going to kind of take us through the questions, but a couple things. One, I like the idea of pay yourself first. That's very important. Very, very important. Something I learned early on. It's been very effective. You know, as a Christian, I pay tithing, which is 10% of my income. So I would say for anybody who has that commitment that God can do more with my 90% than I can do with the 10% I'm trying to keep away from him. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I'd want to say is I really like the idea of the automatic piece. You know, I'm old enough to have paid bills before you could automatically pay them on your computer. So it was a pain in the neck, and I was really bad at it, right? My husband was great at that, but I was really bad at it. But now that everything is automated, it makes it so much easier. I'm never late again.
Right.
The other thing I would caution people about is the idea that you let other people get into your bank account to take money out. You should be careful about how you handle that, because they take it out no matter what. And if you need to adjust something, you cannot adjust those very well. Now, there are some advantages, like insurance will often give you a discount if you have automatic payment, and take advantage of those kind of things. But where there's no advantage to you, you might want to consider doing it the other way around, where you set up the automatic payment through your bank account. So those are a couple of thoughts that I had. And I love the shop around for mortgage rates. We've been doing that for years. I think when we got our first mortgage back in the day, it was like 13%. It was horrible, you know, back in the 70s. And we worked it way, way, way down over the years. And, you know, we're below 3 now. And I always had a goal. My parents only paid 3 back in the 60s. And so that was kind of my goal. Like, I want to do better than my parents did. So anyway, and I finally made it to that. I think we have a number of questions, so I'm going to turn it over then to Tamika and let her take us through the questions that are in the chat. And then also, if you are still on with us and you have a question in the chat and you have any comments as a follow-up to your questions, feel free. Tamika?
Hi. So we do have a couple of questions that were posted. The first question was, but paying your bills on a credit card, what about the interest rate that's billed on the credit card every 30 days for the balance?
Absolutely. I love that question. It's a great question. The idea behind paying your bills on the credit card works this way. When you pay your Comcast bill, let's say it's $100 a month, you normally pay it from your checking account, right? Mm-hmm. So you already have the $100. If you took the $100 out of your checking account, then it's gone. If you put it on your credit card, you have 30 days later to pay the credit card bill. But that's the same $100 you would have paid out of your checking account from the beginning. So only put those things on that you have the money to pay for and that you would normally pay. So it gives you the points back. Make sense?
Makes sense.
And Maria, by the way, 2 Saturdays ago, I had 48 pastors on Saturday at 1 o'clock from the Church of God in Christ. I talked to them about, I had 48 pastors and the bishop, and they talked about that. Yeah. And they said I said, my first comment was, we want to tithe, but what are you doing to teach us to understand how to get the money?
Yep.
So.
That's true. That's true. Interesting, because that is the church denomination I belong to. And I know all the pastors, most of the pastors you probably were talking to. So let's.
What's your pastor?
My pastor is Willie Foster, but you're probably talking to Bishop Sherrod.
Yeah, Bishop Sherrod was on there, yeah. In fact, he
Yeah,
just
of course.
sent me a note 2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, Tina, what else do we have for questions?
Next question. Do you suggest putting your savings in a bank, treasury notes, or bonds?
It depends on what you need access for. Now, if you put your savings account in a regular bank like Chase, you're going to get 0.02%. You're not going to make any money at all. Okay. It is not to your advantage to put it in there. I have a large savings account with a bank that's called Ally. Ally today is paying 0.50%. But before COVID hit, they're paying 2.0%. Chase is paying 0.02 and they're paying 2.0, which is 100 times more. So find a location to put your money in. Now, as you build up your money and you want to go to different things, I'll buy some notes. But I'll build my notes every 90 days. And the reason I do it every 90 days, let's say I put $5,000 here and then buy another cap of $5,000 in 90 days and then $5,000 in 98 days. The yield is about pretty good right now on those notes, but every 90 days I got money coming back. Let's say the money comes in 90 days and it matures. If I want to buy my wife some flowers, I can take the $5,000, and that's not going to happen. I can buy the flowers for that because the month matures. If she's not been nice to me, I just roll it over again. So don't lock your money in. I mean, you can get a good yield at 2 years, but I don't want us to lock our money in. Do it for 6 months. You can buy a 90-day, you can buy a 6 month, you can buy a year, and you can buy 2 years. So now you got money coming in at different times. And if you don't need the money, roll it over. Okay.
Very good. Another question submitted was, how often do you consider refinancing for a lower rate?
Your house?
Didn't specify in the chat.
We were talking about houses.
Yeah, I want to imagine houses. You consider refinancing for a lower rate when the cost to refinance plus all expenses, that new payment has a reasonable reduction from the current payment. But let me add a caveat. There are a lot of people, let's say you had a mortgage for 20 years and you're down to 10 years right now and your rate is at 6% and you go to 3%. People are going, I want to refinance and the payment's going to go down. That's fine. But what I don't want you to do is go back for the same mortgage term. Because if you had a 20-year mortgage and you only got 10 years left, don't refinance for 20 years. Refinance for 10 years. That's all you got left. So if you refinance for the remaining term and you have a reduction that's worth your while to include what is costing you in points, then it's to your advantage. But never, ever, ever refinance for a longer term than you have right now, because all the interest you pay is on the top end of that mortgage.
The other thing I would say too, Don, is that you really have to look at what are your goals. And nowadays people are looking less and less at home ownership in the sense that they'll stay there forever. And and how you look at home ownership is going to also play into that a little bit as well. I agree with what you're saying though. I've had 9 houses. I've never, ever had a 30-year mortgage. And by the way, my first mortgage was 1980. The prime rate was 23%. I closed at 90. I closed at 90%. So every time I paid a payment, I was upside down. And I didn't understand money that much back then. Right.
But then General Motors transferred me, and they said, this is my first transfer to Michigan in '88. They said, you're going to be there for 2 years. And as I understood mortgages, I went, wait a minute. If I want to be there for 2 years, why would I take a 15-year mortgage? Because if the rate at 15% is 8%, the rate for 15 years is 8%. The rate for 7 years was only 5%. So I said, I'm going to be gone in 2 years. Give me a 7-year mortgage. They told me 2, but I didn't trust them. So I said, I'll take 7 years. I paid the lower rate. And to Marie, to your point, if this is your starter home and you're not going to be there 20 years, don't take a long term. And every time I moved around, I took the mortgage term for the estimated time in which I'd be here. In my 3rd trip here, I said to myself, this is it. 2004, I've moved 9 times. I'm not going to move anymore. I took a 7-year mortgage and paid it off.
Yeah.
So look at that kind of stuff.
You got
Yeah.
some thumbs up on that response. Very good. We have time for one more.
Yeah,
I got all
absolutely.
day
Go ahead.
long.
Okay, so staying with home ownership, question. With the current US economic situation due to the pandemic, home prices have escalated. You mentioned saving to buy a house. At what age and under what circumstances does it make sense to rent and not buy a house close to retirement or if you are retired?
That's a great question. People often ask that. They want to say to themselves, I'm going to rent. Here's the issue with renting. I mean, sometimes you have to do it. When I went overseas, I had to rent, but GM paid for it. When you begin to rent, you not only lose the equity in the house, but you lose the tax advantages. Your landlord is collecting all that money, and he's getting a reduction for all those taxes. That could be yours. So I encourage people to do that. And the reasons houses go up so much is because there's no more dirt. My daughter was in California, just got a realtor's license. And she said, Dad, why don't you move out here? She said, but don't sell your house until you buy a house out here. Because what people are doing is they're taking advantage of the high prices of sales, and now they can't find houses. It's going up just that much.
Mhm.
Back up just a little bit, because I talked about the 20%, that PMI, that mortgage insurance, you gotta do all you can to pay at least 20% down. That mortgage interest payment could cost you another $300 a month.
Yeah.
But you want to start saving early to put away from that. And sometimes you help your children with that.
The other thing I would say about PMI is that you don't always have to pay PMI forever.
You don't. You don't.
People think that you have to pay PMI forever. The idea of paying PMI really is about risk. You are a risk for them, so you pay this insurance in case you default. But if over time your income increases, or maybe one person goes back to work, so you have 2 incomes instead of 1, any change like that can cause them to reconsider whether you need to be paying PMI. We were very young when we bought our first house. I was 18 years old, and we didn't understand PMI, and we paid for PMI, I think, probably about 7 years before we really understood, hey, we need to ask again. By this time, my husband had a better job. I was out of school. I was now working. And so it's something to consider if you are paying PMI, to consider having them look at it again. And a lot of people don't know they're paying PMI. They just don't realize it's in their breakdown of their payment every month. Make sure you know what you're paying for in the breakdown of your payment for your house. Very
And the
important.
sad part about it is that the mortgage company's not going to tell you.
Oh, absolutely not.
They're not going to tell you. If they look at PMI based on how much you owe. Let's, for simple numbers, you buy a house for $100,000 and you put down $10,000, then you're 90% debt. Okay, they'd like it to be 80%. When it's less than 80%, when it's more than 80%, they're going to charge you PMI. But at some point, you're going to be below that 80%. It should come off. But if you don't ask, they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm collecting it.
Yeah, yeah. And the other one quick point I want to make with that is that it's really important to keep in mind that when you're looking at the purchasing of a home and sort of the makeup of that PMI, again, it's something that they assess up front. So you really have to make sure that on the back end, you're not paying that forever. Also, with taxes, a lot of people will roll their taxes in and have an escrow account with their bank, with the mortgage company. You don't have to do that if you can afford
Right.
the % down typically, which means you can save your own money for your taxes in your bank account or whatever, and hold on to that money, collect it, do whatever you want to do with it all year long and pay your taxes at the end of the year. Well, they're just taking your money throughout the year and they are investing that themselves instead of you making money. So that's something to consider as well. Tamika, do we have any other questions?
We have one more question submitted. Does debt ever expire when it falls off of your credit report? Does debt expire at all?
Actually, it does. And it comes from an old place in the Bible that says after 7 years, all debt is expelled. So we still follow that process. After 7 years, debt will fall off. That's why your credit cards and your debt on your credit report goes away in 7 years. Although it goes away, I would encourage folks, if you incur some debt, please pay it off. Here's what's going to happen, and they don't tell you. Let's say you borrow $1,000 from Chase Bank and you never pay them. You just forget about it, and no matter how much they call you, you don't pay it. They charge it off. After a certain period, it's charged off. Usually after 120 days, they charge it off and they keep following you. And they try to sell it to somebody else. But finally, after 7 years, it's gone. Did you know that that $1,000 is income? Because Chase Bank is going to tell the federal government you didn't pay them. And now you got $1,000 in income. And unbeknownst to you, down the road, they're going to say, hey, your salary is not $85,000, it's $86,000, and you'll meet taxes plus a penalty. So please be very careful about having those debt not paid off. Wow. The best practice is to try and make sure you buy those things that you want and need, and that you budget your term. One last point I'll point out, because this is the season, and I just heard the extended tax season today. A lot of us are filing taxes, and a lot of us are getting money back. If you get back more than $500, in my opinion, you've given Uncle Sam OPM, other people's money. You've given Uncle Sam the opportunity to use all of your money for a year, and he's paid you no interest. I'd rather you practice understanding your debt, practice budgeting, and then that extra $100 you give them a month, instead of paying it in taxes, put it in your savings account. At the end of the year, you'll have all your money plus some.
Wow, very good point. That concludes all of our questions as of now. Thanks, Maria.
Okay. Thank you so much. I would just ask if there's anybody else who has any questions at this time, if you would hold them. We will allow for more questions at the end. We typically do. For those of you that haven't joined us before, one thing you'll find about this is generally a rather casual conversation. And it allows for a lot of opportunity for you to ask questions. So, if you have a question that you want to ask later in the program, after the recording is done, you're welcome to do that as well. Don, thank you so much. As always, we really appreciate the time that you spent with us this evening, enjoyed your presentation. And on behalf of NAMIC and Ben, we want to thank everyone for being a part of tonight's conversation. We appreciate the support of NAMIC Detroit programming, and we hope that you'll continue to support us in our other programming in the future. Our next program that we're looking at right now is Women's History Month, a presentation with the Comcast Employee Resource Group, UNIDOS, and it's entitled The Strength of Hispanic Women. The date for that is being finalized as we speak. We should be able to announce that tomorrow. And so we look forward to having you join us for that program. We'll also be back to this series in the future, and so stay tuned. At the end of the program, there's going to be the flyer for the financial series. Please take a look and see which programs are suitable for you. And invite your friends and family. Share the information. It's very important that we learn from one another, and we share what we learn with other people, especially our family members. We look forward to seeing you at a future program. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Eris from Ben, who's going to make any announcements about their upcoming projects and wrap up today's program. Eris?
Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you so much to Don, because there's always something new to learn about budgeting and how to make your money work for you and not work for your money. So the Ben organization would like to talk about two different events that we have coming up. The first one, and the most pressing one, is going to be on Wednesday, April 14th, around 12 noon. And it is the Comcast Black Employee Network welcomes Rochelle Riley. Where do we go from here to build better race relationships? And she currently has a book that we will be discussing called They Lived. So look for more communication on that. And then we have another event that is coming in late April, early May. The date is still being finalized, called Tuskegee Airmen Legacy of Courage. And so that's going to be a powerful review of the story of Tuskegee Airmen. And those who know a little bit about it know that that is truly some compelling information about our history. So other than that, that is all that we have. But we do want to thank Don once again for bringing us that information. And of course, that's always a great conversation to have about money. There's not so Black people need to do more about learning about money, how to control their finances, how to invest, where to put their money, and understanding that you may want it, but you don't need it.
There you go.
We thank all of you again who are here with us today for joining us. And we will now formally end the program. But please stay put if you have some questions, because after we finish recording, we'll take more questions with Don. And as always, thank you so much for being a part of this as much as we are. You guys have a wonderful night.
My pleasure.